Jai Gurudev, everyone. I'm Kamlesh Barwal, and today I'm going to be sharing some of my experiences that I've had with Gurudev in these past years that I've spent around him in Bangalore Ashram and traveling all over the world. So today's webcast I'm doing because I met Gurudev's sister, Bhanu Didi, a couple of days back, and I had this opportunity to request her to read some little part from this wonderful book that she has written on Gurudev's life. And she picked out to read a chapter, which I will not give details of, but while she was reading it, I could picture the journey that she has had with Gurudev, growing up as his sister, not knowing why, but she totally followed him as they were small children, and she looked up to him for guidance and knowledge even when they were like really, really small. The other day I came across a very sweet video of Gurudev's father, Pitaji, talking about his two children. And he was sharing this very sweet incident where when Didi and Gurudev both were small, probably like 3-4 years old, and Didi, Bhanu Didi, would, as I said, naturally just follow Gurudev in whatever he did. And Gurudev, that's what Pitaji would share, and Bhanu Didi has shared in her books, how these little, idols of gods and goddesses were Gurudev's favorite toys when he was small, and he had so much reverence for the presence of this divinity and this divine governance in our lives. Even as a small child, he was very conscious of the fact that there was something big, something vast and infinite that was taking care of everyone. And very innocently, he would call them gods, and they were his toys. So Pitaji was sharing that when they were small children, so Gurudev had this habit of, arranging the toys and then offering all food, even if it was some fruits or chocolates, something that was given to them as children by their uncles and aunts or neighbors. He would just bring those goodies and first offer to the gods, these small little gods of his. And the other day I went and saw those idols that Bhanu Didi has kept safe with her. So when he was doing that one of the days, and Bhanu Didi very sweetly would, follow what Gurudev would do. While he was doing it, that day particularly, very sweetly, Bhanu Didi just told Gurudev, she said, "Anna, today the gods are not going to eat this." And so Gurudev, in total surprise, he looked at her and he said, "Why do you say so?" And she's very sweetly turned back and she said, "Because today is Sunday and it's a holiday for everyone. So my teacher has told me in school that on Sunday nobody is working and even gods are taking a holiday." So Gurudev smiled back and he said, "But they are gods. Gods don't take a holiday. They work all the time. They don't have a holiday." And very sweetly, Bhanu Didi has turned back and said, "Oh, poor guys." So, and as soon as she said, "Oh, poor they," Gurudev turned back and said, "God is not poor. In fact, God is the richest. That is why God is able to provide for all of our needs." And this conversation Pitaji was sharing was happening when they were both like 3-4 years old. So these are really sweet stories between the brother and sister that some of us were very fortunate to directly hear from Pitaji, Gurudev's father, and then also Amma, Gurudev's mother. And now Bhanu Didi has written this book, Gurudev on the Plateau of the Peak. And this book is releasing on the 11th, and already so many people have pre-ordered it on Amazon.in. In fact, many of us are having difficulty now ordering it on Amazon. So I'll later on in the conversation, I will share a link with you where if you provide your information, there is a help team here which will help you place your order on Amazon, and as soon as the book is available and released, it will be delivered to you, and you can pay cash on delivery. So that option is available. I'll share the link later on. So then I requested Didi to read out something from the book, and she started reading about Navratri celebrations that we do in the ashram, and how as a little girl she took part in it, and that the perspective, how she saw Navratri then, and then later on she joined in and started participating as a yajman in the Navratri, and how she saw Navratri. And all those of us who have attended Navratris, this will be a very touching and a story that will stay with you for a very long time. I was so moved, and I was thinking how all of us have had our sweet little miracle stories with Gurudev, how we came here to the art of living, how we met Gurudev, and how we have seen him take care of so many people around him, so compassionately, so lovingly. But then to read about his life from somebody who has been so closely associated with him, who has been in his personal space as small children. Then there was time when he finally decided to move out of the house, and he knew what he wanted to do. And what he wanted to do was definitely not in line with the normal things. Yet how his family stood by him, how they completely believed in him and his path and supported him. And then in such small time, in his adolescent years, in his teenage, how he has traveled to the mountains, stayed in Rishikesh, met so many saints. And even before the family knew, when he came back, he was already a master to thousands of people. He was already traveling and bringing peace and providing care and love to so many people around the world. So how the journey was for the family, for Didi herself as his sister, and then how she has seen him move on this path is something worth a read, really. So that perspective to Gurudev's life cannot be brought out by anyone other than Bhanu Didi herself. And the way the book has been written is a treat for all of us. There are a couple of things that I could share. We all have our stories. Even coming to the art of living for me is a big story. How I finally decided to be here, to do what I'm doing today and what inspired me. All of that is a story in itself. But the turning point for me was certainly when I met Gurudev for the first time. When I was in college, I always wanted to find a platform where I could do something more than just normal things that we do in school and colleges. And Art of Living provided that. But more than that, when I came to ashram and I first time met Gurudev and I saw the kind of things he was doing, a day in his life was so well spent. He was meeting thousands of people. There were people meditating. There were people singing. And everyone who came here with so much of botheration, and they felt so much lighter here, went back with a smile. I had never seen someone do that. So for me, when I came to ashram for the first time way back in 1999, it was a sight that I had never expected to see, really. And it was so inspiring to see Gurudev, how he worked all day long and yet kept so beautifully relaxed and smiling. And when I saw that, I kind of felt home, and I kind of knew that this was my life and this was my mission, and there was nothing else I wanted to do. I was a little scared initially, and it was certainly a very big leap or a step for me at that age, for my family to accept me, to not do the normal things, not go for job interviews and not go and try and make a fancy career for myself, but decide to probably go to a village in Himachal and sit there for months and help people come out of their addictions and their vices, was something that my parents and my family had not pictured for me. It was a difficult journey for me to take, and I was scared because I had lived in a very protected environment before that. But when I met Gurudev for the first time and I told him that I really want to be associated and I want to be a part of this, but he could sense that I had this fear inside. So like a very loving mother, I still remember he had told me, I know you're afraid, but I tell you, from this day on, wherever you go in the world, you will find a family more loving than yours and a home bigger and better than yours. This is in 1999. And since then, I have traveled alone to the farthest corners of the world, from Siberia all the way down to Argentina, from China to Middle East. And every time I enter a country, I know no one there. But every time I leave a town or a country, I have a huge family that comes and says goodbye to me on every train station or a bus station or an airport. So when Gurudev used to tell people that the whole world is waiting for him and the whole world is his family and there are millions of people waiting for him, there were few people who completely believed and agreed with what he said. And one of them were Bhanu Didi, Gurudev's sister. And today she has written about his whole journey in this book. And it's so wonderful to read that. I remember I had come to Bangalore Ashram in, I think it is in 2006 or 7. And for some time I was taking care of the administration and human resource of the ashram. And when I came here, I saw all kind of people living in this one sweet home that they called home, and they were from all backgrounds. I had met so many people who had illustrious education, people from IITs and IIMs. I had met people who had retired from the highest commanding offices in the Navy, and then I saw people from the villages. There were so many people from Himachal villages, which made me happy because I thought Himachal was so far off compared to where Bangalore was, and how would people come here? But we had a lot of people from the villages from Himachal, and I instantly felt home. So when I saw so many people here, and I was given this responsibility to manage the human resource in the ashram, I had this immediate desire to set things right. So I thought, because I come from this education and I have this understanding of how to manage people, let me put it to use here, and I'm going to change everything. For me, I thought that, an MBA is doing what he should not be doing, a cook is doing something else, so let me just fix everything and do proper job and role matching, all those things that we study in textbooks. But Gurudev has a very unique way of handling human resources, which I know now. That is why probably Art of Living in India is called Vyakti Vikas Kendra, because the entire emphasis is on the growth of the individual, Vyakti ke Vikas, not really on building up a huge organization. Today, of course, we are very huge and we are a big organization because there is such emphasis, and all efforts are on the development of an individual consciousness than the organization. So I set everything right. I put people's names in the right places. And there was this one gentleman, old man. He probably did not gel well in his house, and he was taking care of certain seva responsibilities in the ashram. And he was creating a lot of trouble. He was tempered, and he would fight with other sevaks in the ashram. Sometimes he would drive away people who would come to, spend time in the ashram. So he was doing very difficult things here. And so I had prepared this nice list of people whom I thought that they did not need to be in the ashram because they were creating problems. And I took that paper to Gurudev. And I showed it to Gurudev, and I said, Gurudev, this particular person, ex-person, he's really not contributing too much to the ashram. Rather, he's bringing a bad name. He's very short-tempered, and he runs behind people with a stick. So it is advisable that we ask him to leave the ashram, and he can go back to his son in the city, and his son, and he loves him, and he'll take care of him. And Gurudev asked me that, okay, tell me one reason why you don't want this person to stay in the ashram. So I said, Gurudev, he's fighting with people. And in my mind, I thought that this person was one of thousands of people who were living in the ashram. Probably Gurudev doesn't even know him. Probably Gurudev has not even seen him. And he's not even a very senior Art of Living teacher, or he's not very close to the management here. So he's like one person who really doesn't matter. That is how I was thinking in my mind. And I thought I'll just tell Guruji and we can send him home. But when I showed the picture to Gurudev and I said, I'm wanting to send this person home because he's creating trouble. So Gurudev asked me, okay, tell me, why do you want to send him home? Give me one reason. I said, Gurudev, he's fighting. And then he told me, he named one of very senior people who has been living here in ashram for a long time, and I would never think of, taking a decision on him for any reason or comparing him with probably this person. So Gurudev took that person's name and told me, even he is fighting so many times in the ashram. Why did you not bring his name here? So if you bring a list of people who are fighting in the ashram, then you make sure you do not decide whose name should be here or not. If the criteria is fighting, then you have to bring a list of names of everyone, irrespective you perceive they are close to me or not. He said, for a master, he said, all these divisions are in your head. For me, everyone is the same. I love this man as much as I love this other person. You might see this other person walking beside me, talking to me more often than this other person. But for me, he's just the same as this one. So never think and never judge the closeness of people by seeing how physically they are close to me. For a master, everybody is the same. That was a big lesson for me, such a big eye-opener. Because as a devotee, as a person living in the ashram, I would so many times, start comparing, oh, this person is closer to Gurudev, this person is a little away from Gurudev. And that changed everything for me. And this man stayed on with us for a very long time, and he was very sweet, and he turned out sweet later on. So many times in the ashram, I would see Gurudev just pointing out to people like, oh, have you seen this boy? He's working in the fields. He's very bright. You should bring him and put him in seva somewhere in front. He'll shine. And I would have really sometimes not even seen those people. In spite of being the HR person, I would have just ignored certain people. But for Gurudev, nobody, he ignores nobody. So if there are thousands of people visiting ashram every day, he meets every person. His day begins so early, his day ends so late in the night, but he has time for everything. He has time for everything. He has that little time even for his sunset gazing, which he never misses. How does he do that? I don't know. It's just a wonder. So that is one. Then let's get back to the book. So these are sweet little stories in this book that Didi has written. For me, it was very beautiful to spend some time with Gurudev's father, Pitaji. He was running a very beautiful project, Vista India, a charity in a village which is like 800 kilometers from here. At that age, when I met him also, about 80, he would actually go to the market, choose and pick out raw material himself, bargain with the shopkeepers, and even choose the colors, load it in a truck himself, and on every packet he would himself pen down or write down the name of each woman that bag was supposed to go to, her name, pack it up nicely, get it loaded on a truck in front of him, and have the truck sent to these women in that remote village. And there, these raw material was provided to these women who were trained in some stitching and craft. They would create some beautiful bags and diaries, and all of that would come to Bangalore, and Pitaji would himself go door to door, meeting different shopkeepers and different exhibitors to sell that products and send the money back to those ladies. And this he kept doing till the end. And there were times when I would, when he would get up from his chair and I would just offer help. And he would say, I don't need help. There are so many thousands of people who need your help. You be available for them. That is what my son, my guru, has taught me. This coming from a father would really shake me up. And Gurudev was like that. Such a loving, caring son to him. And a master. It was a lovely relationship to watch between the two of them. I feel sad that Pitaji couldn't write a book on Gurudev. But now that Bhanu Didi has written this book, this is something we all have to read and inspire others to read. It's a different side of Gurudev that we will all get to see beyond what is, shown in media and places. And for me personally, Gurudev has been like, my father. He's took so much care of me. And then I have realized he has not just taken care of me, he's taken care of everyone like that. But I want to really share with everybody that we are talking today. So when I joined the Art of Living and I decided to be a full-time teacher, I started traveling out. I didn't realize. And that time I was so taken by the glory of doing what I was doing in my life. I didn't think so much about how it affected my parents, my family back home. I knew that it wasn't so easy for them, but still somehow I think I forgot in that whole idea of changing the world. I somewhere forgot about them for a while. And because I moved out of house and I started doing whatever I was doing, it affected my father very deeply. And he fell sick, but he never shared with me. My mother didn't tell me because I was traveling and probably they didn't want to tell me how my father was. My father was not doing well. I didn't know. And then I happened to meet Gurudev in Rishikesh, and I had just come back from traveling outside of India. And I was very happy about the things I had done there. And I was sharing with Gurudev, oh, this happened, that happened. And Gurudev just told me, he said, when was the last time you went to your parents? So I told him, it's been a while, Gurudev, I have to go home. So probably after I spend some time with you in Rishikesh, then I will go to Shimla and be with my parents. So he just looked at me and he said, your father really misses you. He's missing you so much that he has fallen sick. He's taken it to his heart. Why don't you go back to Himachal and be with your parents for some time and travel from there so that you can spend some time with him. At least spend 3 months with him. Give him so much love and take him with you to your programs. Let him see how beautiful things you are doing. He will be all right. And I started thinking in my mind, I spoke to Daddy just 2 days back and he didn't sound so unwell. Anyways, now that Gurudev is telling me, let me go. And when I went back to Shimla, to my house, I met my father. He was so broken. He looked at me and he broke into tears. He was crying and he told me, you have no idea how much I have missed you. And then my mother told me that he was sick because he was so much missing me. And that is the time when I spent with them. I took my parents around showing them the things I did. They felt so proud of me, and everything changed. So from time to time, like there was time one day I was going home, and my father loves dates. Like dates is his favorite food. And earlier we didn't used to really get very good dates in India. Like if we had to have some good dates, we had to come to Chandigarh from Shimla to buy some very high quality dates. So one day I was in Delhi, and I finished one meeting, and I told Gurudev that I would like to go home for some time. He said, yeah, you go. And I went back to my room that night to rest. And in the night, someone came to wake me up, and they said, Gurudev has called you to his where he was staying. And I went up, and he told me, you're going to your father, no? And he loves dates, right? See, I have put so many boxes of dates for you. Take them home, take them to your papa. He's going to like it. So it's very sweet, how he has taken care of me all throughout. And I wouldn't say he's just taken care of me, but he's taken care of so many people. I go to, I think in 2003 or 4, I went to Siberia. I went to this small village in Siberia, Bratsk. From Moscow, I took a flight to Bratsk, and it was like some 7 hours, one small Russian aircraft which would go duk, 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 and it was winter time, some minus 25, 30 degrees temperature. And I was going into the middle of nowhere. I would look down, and all I would see is Siberian forest, and I was so scared. I didn't know where I was going, and if I get down at the airport, will there be anyone that I would even get to speak to? And I didn't speak Russian, and no one spoke English there. So I was going there. And then after so many hours, we landed in some forest, and there didn't seem any building around. There didn't seem any airport around. It was just like a flat ground where the flight landed. And it was very misty and foggy because winters, and all white, snow-capped. And we got out of the aircraft, and we had to actually pull out our luggage from the boot. And I pulled out my luggage, and I started walking in the dense fog, and I couldn't see any humans around. And then suddenly I hear this loud cheer somewhere, Kamlesh, Kamlesh, Jai Gurudev. And there were these 10 people dancing, singing bhajan. They were so happy. They hugged me, loved me, and it was so touching to see how one man had touched lives in the weirdest and farthest corners of the world. And out of all those people that I met in Bratsk, I stayed in Bratsk like for 10 days, and I met hundreds of people who were doing Sudarshan Kriya, practicing yoga, doing satsangs in their houses. And we had the warmest and the loveliest winter. And all of those people had never met Gurudev. And none of them had even a desire to physically come and meet Gurudev, because they would just feel that he's all the time with them. I would cry every evening thinking that how one person's intention to give love and care for the world has made him available to so many millions around the world, even without having to have actually met him. It is beyond shocking, really, for me to see. But at the same time, I feel so grateful, and I'm so happy to be sharing his vision and his mission of spreading love, light, joy every day. I mean, what else could I asked for in my life? Every evening I have a satsang, and I dance. Every evening. Every alternate day, I meet a new member of a family from a different part of the world. We spend whole day discussing how to make our and others' lives better. There is no gossip, no complaining, no pulling legs. All we are doing is discussing knowledge, yoga, Upanishads, then do a satsang every evening and go to sleep. I'm so grateful for this life. I don't know, I could have been anybody, anything. I could be doing anything. I could be sitting in a call center in Gurgaon and making calls to the world. I could have been an HR executive in one of these nice hospitality industry, doing the same things. But what I'm doing now, sharing Gurudev's vision and mission of spreading peace and smiles and love, nothing in the world can match it. And I'm so happy for this life. I've spoken more than I should be speaking. So the idea was to inspire you to read the book Gurudev, on the book written by Bhanudiri on Gurudev's life. I have a URL that I want to share with you. This makes your life easy. So the URL is www.bit.ly/helpmeorder. www.bit.ly/helpmeorder. If you click this link, you have to fill a form which comes to a team here in Ashram, and we help you order your book, and it gets delivered to you as soon as it gets released. Thank you so much for your time. I have many Guru stories. For that, you have to come and spend a few days with us in the ashram or do a course with me. Then we can have more conversations like this and lot of stories. Thank you so much for being wonderful audience and being patient with this internet. I hope you could hear me and see me. Lots of love. Jai Gurudev.